2 quick questions, and we want to make sure that Anna has enough time for her presentation. So any questions for the tag team? Yeah, excellent. Two-headed monster.
The two-headed monster, wow.
All right, what is
Nice one.
what is TBL, and how do you manifest your commitment to sustainability?
Triple bottom line. So it's the economic, social, and environmental components. How do you manifest that? You rely on data. We have some very...
So you're taking it on yourself, or is this going to be just done by policymakers in Canada?
No, this will be... Well, go ahead.
Well, you know, it's funny. Our first visit up to Parliament, we were so successful in this group of stakeholders we brought together to talk about these very ideas. They stopped cold and said, and to leadership from Enterprise, Rental Car, and other major retailers, they said, listen, if you come here as a collective, as you're proposing, and tell us what to do, we'll just do that. And so the idea is, for the first time, the idea is captured on this page. We have policymakers that are willing to embrace the idea or the direction from which the private sector is coming to them with. So
we have plenty of tools. If we just look at the environmental component as a subset, the economic, we talked about supply demand. The environment, we have Don's package.
GH Genius.
GH Genius. We have very sophisticated life cycle analysis tools. They're not exactly the same. There are differences in Canada and the US. The tool sets are not perfect, but they're much more sophisticated than they used to be. We've put all sorts of different methanol by steam methane reformation. We've got methane from waste. We've got ethanol from corn, ethanol from grain. We've got all these options have been put through this GH Genius tool, and we have credible accountability for their performance relative to carbon. All we're saying is we're going to rely on those tools and those experts to have them weigh in on the environmental performance. We're not going to ignore it.
Melinda?
How much is this program encouraged by Canada's uniquely Canadian federal policy on commitment to building sustainability indexes across the government system?
Oh, that's a tough one.
I'd like to say we have nothing to do with it. Well, to be frank, we spent years working with different federal departments on their sustainability initiatives, and it was classic for departments to say that the biggest impact they have on sustainability as a nation is through policy. And that's obvious, but how much they moved that policy dialogue with the private sector, because it worked through a government relations dialogue, which didn't often go anywhere. I would say that ATEC could move the benchmark by a decade.
They're starting for it. The fact that, I mean, I spent my life in consumer packaged goods, working for the likes of Coca-Cola, Bacardi Martini, and now I'm leading a data organization, insights organization. For the fact that I get FaceTime with our ministers and get real up to Parliament and I'm meeting with our premiers, I really got no business being in that capacity. And the fact that I have that time indicates to me there's a massive void. And that's why Bruce is with me now, because obviously you can tell he's got a rich history in government relations and sustainability. And so for whatever reason, I get to kick open the door and we get to have a rich dialogue, and we have an audience that's dying for some direction. So, you know, call me the optimist, but
I think, though, building on what Dave said, I think that we have a government, federal government at least in Canada right now, that is tending to look beyond the bureaucracy for answers. And there's a tendency in this type of issue to say, we have a regulatory development process on regulatory impact assessment, very similar to the OMB and the federal government here. In Canada, the government's now at the point where they're going, we don't want to hear what our regulators say. We want to hear what business says is going to advance this opportunity. And that's where I think it's an opportunity for us to create a plank that's based on evidence and based on material decision making, but it's not government policy per se.
you can make a difference. You know, and then I'll close with this. I know you're dying on the vine here. My son is 12 years old. He's got, you know, through my career, I've met a lot of interesting people. He's played on the court with NBA players. He's, you know, been on a stage with Vince Gill and done all these wonderful things. And the only thing his teacher thinks I do is enable alternative transportation energy. And so they get it. I don't know why we don't. And so for me, it's, you got a younger generation emerging, and I'm hoping momentum gets built. And to me, that was just a crystallization of how important this is. We can make a difference if we all step up and do something.